Brian, you guided Westpac through the Royal Commission into misconduct in the banking, superannuation and financial services industry. Can you take us into the room at that time? I imagine it was a very stressful time, a lot of media coverage. How were you navigating it?
Yeah, well, it was an extraordinary exercise. I'll just say a couple things about that. So one was we had over 100 people working on that, because the way that it actually works is the regulator or the Royal Commission hits you with these document requests and gives you no time to, please give us a copy of every file of every customer for the last 18 years who've had this product. How do you even do that? So we had a massive team, literally over 100 people, almost all of whom were lawyers, finding documents, vetting documents, preparing things, responding to these, and the requests were just coming in nonstop, because a bank is a big conglomerate of multiple businesses, and we were getting all these requests across all these different businesses. So just the logistics of it were intense. And then for our people who had to testify in the Royal Commission, there was then this immense preparation that had to go in, because they could be asked anything. So they had to go into this incredible boot camp of learning, looking at cases, understanding the law, the regulations around things to a level that maybe they hadn't needed to know before, just so they wouldn't be caught not being able to answer a question, because the whole thing's televised. Yeah. And you have no idea what you're going to be asked, and you've got these guys whose professional job is to tear you apart.
Yeah. To grill you.
Right? And then I was one of those, and what I would say about that for me was I genuinely have not worked harder since university than the preparation I did for my Royal Commission thing. I remember I came into my office one day, and they'd brought in my briefing books. And the briefing books were arrayed on a table, and I put them on the floor and made a pile, and the pile was that high. Wow. It was about 4.5, 5 feet of reading material that I had to go through. And I spent probably, for 6 weeks, I probably spent the better part of 2 or 3 days a week for 6 weeks preparing for it.
Jeez.
It was seriously intense. And, it was in one way, so that's the personal aspect of it. And then you're going in there, and it's the best way I can describe it is it's test cricket, where you're going in and they are bowling for you, and there's no fours, there's no sixes. All you need to do is not get stumped.
Yeah,
basically. And there's a lot of every so often there's a bouncer at your head. Yeah. So and you're on live TV.
Yeah.
So it's a pretty interesting experience personally. But stepping back from that, I think for the industry, it was really great experience, because we had to learn our business a lot better, and we identified a number of things that really did need to be fixed. And the number one thing being, we weren't paying enough attention to the impact of customers in the tail of the distribution. So by that I mean, for most customers, I used to say to people when they would complain about bank service, I'd say, well, what % of customers complaining would you think is a good answer? Is a reasonable result. And most people say, less than 5%. And I'd say, well, what about 1%? They'd say, yeah. And I'd say, what about half of 1%? And they'd say, yeah. And I'd say, good, because that's the number. That the number of people who were actually complaining was very, very, very small. But in that number, there was a further subset of people who had been stuck in the system for a long time and had genuinely terrible results. And we didn't at a high enough level know about that.
Yeah.
And we should have. So what we had to do is go back and change our processes so that when someone has fallen through the cracks or gotten stuck in the system or had a particularly egregious outcome, we need to surface that so we can fix it.
Yeah.
Because as soon as we found out about those ones, we were horrified. And we went, oh, gosh, well, let's fix that. And so that was a genuine miss by the industry, not paying enough attention to the vulnerable customers particularly. So I think in that sense it was a positive.
I know you're not at Westpac now, but if you think about the industry generally post-Royal Commission, do you think a lot of those changes have been made?
I do. Big banks are very complex and have old systems, old processes. The regulatory requirements are unbelievably complex and difficult to make sure you comply with day in and day out. At a high level, they sound easy, but in practice, with the number of people and businesses you've got, it gets hard. But I can certainly say, I know all the CEOs. I know what we went through. It was very genuine. And in a way, some of the frustration was a number of us, myself included, had actually come into our jobs knowing that the industry needed to change, knowing that we wanted to improve things. And I in some ways feel like for me, I was kind of like the surfer who started paddling, but still the wave was moving too fast, and I couldn't get in front of it. So it wasn't like we were sitting there in denial that we needed to fix things. We were actually trying to fix things. We had a huge legacy, and we didn't get there fast enough.